Hello everyone, I'm Yazan Ibrahim, or as some of you might know me, Yazan Abu Ghosh. Today we're going to dive into a fascinating and essential topic. Welcome back to our journey through AI operations. In Chapter 10, we armed ourselves with knowledge about diverse testing techniques for AI solutions, ensuring we can validate and verify their performance and integrity. Building directly on that, today we turn our attention to the darker side of AI, the specific dangers it faces. We are now entering Chapter 11, Threats and Vulnerabilities Specific to AI. This chapter explores the unique security risks and inherent vulnerabilities that AI systems encounter, risks that often go beyond those faced by traditional software. We will delve into intentional attacks such as data poisoning, where training data is maliciously corrupted, model evasion or adversarial attacks, where AI models are tricked into making incorrect decisions, model stealing, which involves the theft of valuable intellectual property, and membership inference attacks that compromise data privacy. We'll also cover critical unintentional vulnerabilities, including pervasive issues like algorithmic bias, the challenge of a lack of robustness in models, and problems stemming from the black box nature of some complex AI systems. Understanding this landscape of threats and vulnerabilities is absolutely crucial for developing effective defense mechanisms, building resilient AI applications, and ensuring these powerful tools are used safely and securely. The structured identification and management of these AI-specific risks are central tenets of frameworks like the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, AIRMF, ISO IEC 23894 on AI risk management. Furthermore, bodies like ISACA and the IIA provide extensive guidance on IT risk management and cybersecurity, principles that must be adapted and extended to address the novel threat vectors AI introduces. Our discussion will be informed by these authoritative sources and ongoing research in this rapidly evolving field. So, let's illuminate the shadows and understand the challenges we must overcome to secure our AI solutions. Introduction to AI-specific threats and vulnerabilities. Artificial intelligence systems, by their very nature, present a unique and evolving threat landscape. Their reliance on vast data sets for learning, the complexity of their algorithms, and their increasing autonomy in decision-making open up new avenues for attack and introduce vulnerabilities that are distinct from those in conventional software. Traditional cybersecurity measures, while still essential, are often insufficient on their own to protect AI systems adequately. Understanding these AI-specific threats and vulnerabilities is not just an academic exercise, it's a practical imperative for several reasons. It allows us to design and implement effective defense mechanisms tailored to the unique ways AI can be compromised. It helps in building resilient AI applications that can withstand or gracefully degrade in the face of attacks or unexpected conditions. It informs risk assessments and governance strategies, ensuring that potential AI-specific dangers are proactively managed. It drives the development of more trustworthy AI, as security and robustness are key components of trust, a concept deeply explored in standards like ISO IEC TR 24028. Let's categorize these threats and vulnerabilities, starting with intentional, often adversarial attacks. Intentional adversarial threats targeting AI systems. These are actions deliberately undertaken by malicious actors to compromise the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of AI systems, or to cause them to behave in unintended and harmful ways. The NIST AIRMF highlights the need to map, measure, and manage such risks. Data poisoning definition. Data poisoning is an attack where an adversary intentionally injects malicious, manipulated, or mislabeled data into the training data set of an AI model. The attacker's goal is to corrupt the model's learning process, thereby compromising its integrity, performance, or behavior once it's deployed. This can be a very insidious attack, as the model itself appears to learn correctly, but from tainted foundations. Impact. Reduced accuracy. The model may learn incorrect patterns from the poisoned data, leading to significantly lower overall accuracy and reliability in its predictions or classifications. Introduction of backdoors. Attackers can craft poisoned data to create backdoors in the model. The model might behave normally on most inputs, but produce specific attacker-chosen and often malicious outputs when it encounters a particular trigger input that the attacker knows. Targeted bias or unfairness. The model can be subtly biased to make specific incorrect predictions for certain subgroups or inputs, potentially leading to discriminatory outcomes or unfair treatment. Degradation of trust. If an AI system is known or suspected to be susceptible to data poisoning, trust in its outputs and decisions rapidly diminishes. Vulnerable points. AI systems that continuously learn from new data, online learning, those that rely on externally sourced or crowdsourced datasets for training, or those where the data ingestion pipeline is not adequately secured, are particularly vulnerable to data poisoning. Ensuring data quality and provenance, as emphasized in ISO IEC 42001, is a key defense. Model evasion, adversarial attacks, and adversarial examples. Definition: model evasion attacks occur after an AI model has been trained and deployed. Adversaries craft small, often imperceptible perturbations, changes, to input data that are specifically designed to cause the trained AI model to misclassify that input or make an incorrect prediction. These maliciously crafted inputs are known as adversarial examples. Impact: misclassification with high confidence. A common characteristic is that the model often misclassifies the adversarial example with high confidence, making the error harder to detect. Safety-critical failures. In AI systems used in safety-critical applications such as autonomous vehicles, adversarial examples could cause the system to misinterpret road signs, pedestrians, or obstacles, leading to accidents. For instance, slightly altered stop signs might be ignored. Bypassing security systems, spam filters might be tricked into classifying malicious emails as legitimate, or malware detection systems might fail to identify harmful code if it's presented as an adversarial input. Facial recognition systems could be fooled how they exploit vulnerabilities. These attacks exploit the way AI models, especially deep neural networks, learn complex decision boundaries. The high-dimensional nature of input spaces often means there are blind spots or areas where slight changes can push an input across a decision boundary, even if the model is highly accurate on normal data. The robustness of AI systems against such attacks is a key aspect of trustworthiness, as discussed in ISO ICTR 24028. Model stealing, model extraction, or replication. Definition: model stealing, also known as model extraction or replication, is an attack where an adversary attempts to steal or reconstruct a proprietary trained AI model. This is often achieved by repeatedly querying the target model, e.g., via its API if it's publicly accessible, with a variety of inputs and observing its outputs, predictions, and confidence scores. The attacker then uses this gathered input-output data to train a similar surrogate or clone model that mimics the functionality of the original proprietary model. Impact: intellectual property (IP). Theft: trained AI models often represent significant investment in data acquisition, research, and computational resources. Their theft constitutes a loss of valuable intellectual property and competitive advantage. Enabling other attacks. Once a model is stolen or closely replicated, the attacker can analyze it offline to discover its vulnerabilities more easily, craft more effective adversarial examples for evasion attacks, or identify potential biases. Economic loss. Competitors could potentially leverage stolen models, or the attacker could offer a similar service at a lower cost, leading to economic damage for the original model owner. Vulnerability: AI models that are exposed via publicly accessible APIs, or those where users can submit a large number of arbitrary inputs and receive detailed outputs, are generally more susceptible to model stealing attacks. Membership inference attacks. Definition: in a membership inference attack, an adversary tries to determine whether a specific individual's data record was part of the dataset used to train the AI model. The attacker typically does this by observing the model's predictions, confidence scores, or other outputs when presented with the individual's data. Impact: privacy violations. Successfully inferring membership can reveal sensitive information about individuals. For example, if an AI model is trained to predict a specific medical condition, and an attacker can determine that a person's data was in the training set, it might imply that the person has or is at risk for that condition. This is a direct breach of data privacy. Compliance issues. Such privacy breaches can lead to non-compliance with data protection regulations like GDPR, which heavily protect personal data. The need for thorough impact assessments like those described in ISO IEC 42005, AI System Impact Assessment, becomes evident here. Vulnerability: AI models that tend to memorize or overfit to their training data, or those that provide highly confident or distinct predictions for data points they were trained on compared to unseen data, are often more vulnerable to membership inference attacks. Other privacy breaches specific to AI, including model inversion. Beyond membership inference, AI systems can lead to other forms of privacy breaches. Model inversion attacks. Attackers attempt to reconstruct sensitive features or even entire data records from the training data by exploiting the outputs and, in some cases, the parameters of a trained AI model. For example, by analyzing a facial recognition model, an attacker might try to regenerate average or representative images of faces that were part of its training set, potentially exposing sensitive visual information. Impact: this can lead to severe privacy breaches through the exposure of sensitive personal data or the revelation of confidential or proprietary information that was embedded in the training data, Vulnerability: models trained on sensitive data, especially generative AI models or those that provide very detailed outputs or explanations, can be at higher risk. These privacy risks underscore the importance of robust data governance and confidentiality measures as discussed in Chapter 6 and the principles of privacy by design, Chapter 7. Unintentional vulnerabilities and intrinsic risks in AI systems. Beyond deliberate attacks, AI systems also possess inherent characteristics and can suffer from unintentional vulnerabilities that can lead to failures, unfair outcomes, or other harms. Many of these are related to the data used, the model's learning process, or its operational environment. The NIST AI RMF provides guidance on identifying and managing such risks. Algorithmic bias sources. Algorithmic bias is a pervasive challenge in AI. It doesn't necessarily imply malicious intent, but can arise from several sources. Biased training data. If the data used to train an AI model reflects existing societal biases, e.g., historical underrepresentation or misrepresentation of certain demographic groups, the AI model will learn and likely perpetuate or even amplify these biases. Flawed model design or algorithm choice. The way a model is designed, the features it uses, or the optimization criteria it employs can inadvertently introduce or exacerbate bias. Sampling bias. If the data collection method results in a sample that is not representative of the true population the AI will serve. Impact. Algorithmic bias can lead to unfair, discriminatory, or inequitable outcomes for individuals or groups. For example, a biased AI hiring tool might unfairly screen out qualified candidates from certain demographic groups, or a biased facial recognition system might perform less accurately for certain skin tones. This directly contravenes ethical AI principles, as discussed in Domain 1E, and can have severe legal and reputational consequences. Addressing this is a core component of trustworthy AI, aligning with guidance from ISO, ISACA, and AAIA. Lack of robustness and brittleness. Definition. This refers to the tendency of some AI models to perform well on data that is very similar to their training data, but to fail, sometimes unexpectedly and catastrophically, when encountering inputs that are slightly different, noisy, or outside their exact training distribution. They can be brittle rather than gracefully degrading. Impact. Unreliable performance in real-world conditions. Real-world data is often messy, incomplete, or subject to minor variations. A non-robust model may produce inaccurate or unpredictable results in such scenarios. Safety issues. In safety-critical applications, e.g., autonomous systems, medical AI, a lack of robustness can have severe consequences if the AI misinterprets a slightly altered input. This vulnerability is closely related to the success of adversarial evasion attacks and highlights the need for rigorous robustness testing. Chapter 10. Issues related to the black box nature of some AI models. Challenge. Many advanced AI models, particularly deep neural networks, operate as black boxes. Their internal workings and decision-making processes can be extremely complex and opaque, making it difficult for humans to understand precisely how they arrive at a particular output or prediction. Impact. Difficulty in debugging and error analysis. When a black box model makes an error, it can be challenging to diagnose the root cause or identify the specific features or logic that led to the mistake. Reduced trust and acceptance. Lack of transparency can erode user trust and make it harder for stakeholders to accept and rely on AI-driven decisions, especially for high-stakes applications. Challenges in ensuring accountability. If decisions cannot be explained, it becomes difficult to assign responsibility when things go wrong. Hindrance to ethical oversight. It's harder to verify if a black box model is operating fairly or ethically if its reasoning is not transparent. This is why the field of explainable AI, XAI, which we touched upon in testing, is so important for mitigating these risks, aligning with the transparency principles emphasized by ethical AI frameworks and standards bodies like ISO. Other unintentional vulnerabilities. Overfitting occurs when a model learns the training data too well, including its noise and specific idiosyncrasies, rather than the underlying generalizable patterns. This leads to excellent performance on the training data, but poor performance on new, unseen data. Data drift and concept drift. As discussed in previous chapters, the performance of deployed AI models can degrade over time if the statistical properties of the input data change, data drift, or if the underlying relationship between inputs and outputs in the real world evolves, concept drift. Without continuous monitoring and retraining, models can become outdated and unreliable. Spurious correlations. AI models, especially complex ones trained on large data sets, might learn spurious correlations, patterns that appear statistically significant in the training data but do not reflect true causal relationships in the real world. Relying on such correlations can lead to nonsensical or incorrect predictions when the model encounters new data where these coincidental patterns don't hold. Reward hacking in reinforcement learning. In reinforcement learning, AI agents are trained to maximize a reward signal. Reward hacking occurs when the agent finds an unintended or counterproductive way to achieve a high reward that does not align with the actual desired behavior or that leads to negative side effects. For instance, a cleaning robot might learn to simply cover dirt rather than remove it if that achieves the no visible dirt reward more easily. Understanding threats for effective defense. A thorough understanding of this diverse range of intentional threats and unintentional vulnerabilities is the absolute foundation for developing effective defense mechanisms and building resilient, trustworthy AI applications. This knowledge informs risk management strategies. By identifying specific threats, organizations can prioritize risks and allocate resources to the most critical areas, aligning with frameworks like the NIST AI RMF and ISO IEC 23894. Design of controls. Knowledge of attack vectors like data poisoning or adversarial examples allows for the design of specific technical and procedural controls to prevent, detect, and respond to these threats, some of which we'll discuss in Controls for AI-related Threats, as outlined in the DOSX for Domain 2F. Testing and validation focus. Understanding vulnerabilities guides the development of targeted testing strategies, Chapter 10, to ensure models are robust, fair, and secure. Incident response planning. Awareness of AI-specific incidents helps in creating more effective incident response plans. Chapter 12. Ethical AI governance. Recognizing potential harms from bias or lack of transparency strengthens the case for robust ethical oversight. The field of AI security and safety is dynamic, with ongoing research from institutions like NIST, standards bodies like ISO, professional organizations such as ISACA and the AAIA, and the broader academic community constantly working to identify new threats and develop innovative mitigation techniques. Staying informed about this research is crucial for maintaining a strong defensive posture. This chapter has laid out the challenging landscape of threats and vulnerabilities specific to AI. Armed with this understanding, we are better prepared to consider the controls and strategies needed to navigate these risks. Thank you for watching, and as always, continue learning, stay curious, and we'll see you next video.